Hi everyone, welcome to this third module, Language and Proof Editing in Scientific Article Writing. In the first two classes, we will venture into language structure and grammar most pertinent in scientific writing. What language skills matter most and what kind of grammar commonly used in such writing. In this first class, we will go into some introduction why language matters, in scientific writing, using articles such as a, and, the, as well as relative pronouns. Stay tuned. First let us start with some statistics produced by Thomson Reuters, the former owner of the Web of Science. According to their analysis, journal rejection is more common than most people think. About 30 to 50% of submitted articles are rejected by any given journals. But why this is so? Here is the list of the top 10 reasons for manuscript rejection. If you look closely, 3 out of 10 are due to language issues. This include overinterpretation of results, text difficult to follow, and incomplete, inaccurate and outdated review of literature. Even the most common criticisms by editors upon submission are comprised of poor communication and weak English. However, most editors will also understand that the content of the submitted articles are the most important criteria of judgment and merit. As one Australian-based journal editor said, "As long as the science is good and can be clearly understood, I don't worry too much about the English. I have copy editors who can fix that." Again, in Elsevier Online Editors Forum, they recommend that language should not be a barrier to scientific content and these researchers must be helped. Remember that, as long as you can write in plain English, making sure that small avoidable grammatical mistakes are not present in your manuscript, you have a good chance of paper acceptance. Also, you don't need to be fluent in speaking to write proficiently in English. What you need the most is competent language writing skills, being able to understand the correct grammar to make the right decision during any writing. Most of these grammatical rules are recurrent and have a typical set or pattern in scientific writing. So, it is learnable, and you can master them given enough practice. This is what I will touch briefly in this class. Now, let us see what kind of English errors matter most. There are 6 common errors listed here. First, errors relating to articles and modal verbs. Then, incorrect usage of singular, plural forms, followed by verbs and subject disagreement. Tenses errors and incorrect prepositions are also commonly found. And lastly, overly complex sentences. As you can see, most of these errors are avoidable, which we will cover next. For articles, a, and, the, we can divide it into 2 different practices for noun phrase. First is generic usage, which indicates any, or all, and secondly, specific usage. In the generic usage, it is also divided into 2, countable or uncountable nouns. For the countable, it is further divided into either singular or plural. As you know, for singular, you will have a, or, and. For plural you don't have both. Let us see an example for each. A healthy crop can contribute a substantial cadmium to human diet. Secondly, healthy crops can contribute substantial cadmium to human diets. As you can see, these sentences are fairly general, and both are actually correct. We can make a generic sentence by using either a, or plural form of the noun, in this case, crops. Other common generic countable nouns used in scientific literature include approaches, organisms, genes, proteins, plants, etc. For generic uncountable nouns, no articles or ending are needed for that noun. For instance, cadmium exists in soils in many forms. Cadmium is an uncountable noun, and hence stays the same in any context. Other common uncountable noun includes liquids such as water, or subjects such as science or chemistry, etc. Now, for specific noun phrase, the noun is now pointing to a particular referent. Let us consider these 3 examples. In recent years the growth of desert areas has been accelerating in the world. As there is only one world, the word the is used to describe that particular referent. Okay, how about this second example? A pot experiment was conducted in an acid soil. The experiment showed. As you can see, the sentence starts off with a generic statement, a pot experiment. But then, In the second sentence, it becomes specific whereby the is used to describe that particular experiment. The noun phrase now is pointing back to an old information introduced in an earlier statement. How about this third sentence? The aim of this study was to investigate the effect of liming on cadmium uptake. Now, the is used to refer to a subsequent referent, in this case, liming. In fact, 85% of the time, two noun phrases with off in the middle will generally use the. The other 15% when not to use it is mostly based on experience. But to be safe, just use the when off is used to connect two noun phrases. Another common problem for scientific writing is using relative pronouns, which, and that. Let us examine two examples here. Land which is surrounded by water is an island. And secondly, Tasmania, which is surrounded by the waters of Bass Strait, is an island of great natural beauty. Both examples using which, but only one of them using comma. What makes the difference? Let's see the first example. Underlined here is what we call defining relative clause. In this case, if we were to remove that particular clause including the which, the sentence will not make any sense. Land is an island, is not right. In the second example, the underlined phrase is non-defining relative clause. Even without the clause, which is surrounded by the waters of Bass Strait, the sentence, Tasmania is an island of great natural beauty still makes a lot of sense. By understanding these differences, we could decide when to put which, or that. In the first example, defining relative clause, either which, or that, is allowed in the British English, including Australia and New Zealand. Whereas, only that, is allowed in the American English. This defining relative clause is not using comma too. For the non-defining relative clause, as we detailed just now, it comes with comma and the phrase can be removed while retaining the meaning of the whole sentence. In this case, we are only allowed to use which. We will continue our lesson in the next class.